going? Okay, welcome back to Now You Hear Me. Today we have Emma Hoet from France.
Yes, hello. I'm so excited
Woo!
to be here.
I'm really excited that you're here. I remember telling you about this idea, this like seedling of an idea a year ago when we met up for coffee in Paris. And I was like, whenever I started, I'm going to interview you. So here we are.
Yes, and I'm so happy we're doing it now.
Yeah, me too. So
Yes.
for people who don't know anything about you, how would you describe your music in terms of like the sound and also the themes of the music?
So I always say that my music is like French indie pop because I think
Mm,
it's like it is still pop, but it's not like really mainstream pop to me. So it's a bit more, yeah, independent in a way. And I do everything independently at the moment. So, so yeah, that's it. And very focused on French, but in the near future, I'm going to start including other languages like Spanish and English. So we can talk about that later.
yeah, no, I'm excited about that. Um, is being a musician something that you always thought of doing? I know in one of your Instagram videos you said that you felt like you didn't really know until later that that was something that you could pursue as a career. So I'm curious
Exactly.
about like how your creativity started as a child and morphed from like a hobby to something that is now a job.
Basically, my creativity started when like at a really young age because I always loved writing, like storytelling. I was always on my like parents' laptop trying to write like a novel or something. Like I was inventing stories all the time. So it really started from writing in words, and I then started to be interested in playing the piano. But I was coming from a family where it was really business oriented. Like we were never really considering an artistic career for our future, like with my brothers. But then I moved to London for my studies. I studied at King's College for 3 years, and finding myself alone in another city, speaking English, being exposed to so many like artists around me, I realized that okay, well, that's maybe what I want to do. And one day, one of my friend like knew that I was singing and writing on my side, and called me for a session. I said, Emma, you want to try recording something, and we can try. Like I have a song I want to finish. Do you want to add your voice and write words on it? And I did, and it was really like easy this session because probably I didn't know how to do it, so I just did it my way.
Yeah.
And for some reason, like this song came out, was signed on a label, and it started having like a lot of streams, millions of streams, radio in the US actually.
Was
I
that
was really proud. You
was
Get
that
My
You Got My
Heart.
Heart? Okay.
Yes, that song. So that was my very first song. And I was like, whoa. So now I'm starting to make money. I am 21.
Hmm.
Um I can see that my music is listened to. Why do I not consider this as a career, basically? So
Yeah.
that really started from a proof from the industry that I could do it,
Yeah.
and it was just a starting point, really.
How is it that your brothers got into music? Because I feel like it's rare to find families where like everybody has some sort of musical talent. So did they kind of discover their creativity at a similar time, or did you guys kind of like feed off of each other and work with each other? I know you guys put out a song together recently, but how did that start for them?
Basically, yes. So we were always really close. So we always did everything together. Like when I was living in London, both of them were in London as well.
Mm, okay.
So we were always like following each other, common projects, giving feedback on everything that we were doing. And I don't know, we were so close that at some point, I think that once someone was getting out of the zone that we had, we were following the other. Like, oh, I
Mm,
like what you're doing.
yeah.
Okay, I want to do that too, and I want to do that too. And they're in a band together, like a duo. And I'm by myself because obviously my music is different. It's not techno music, but
Yeah.
it's really weird because I think we evolve at the same time and on the same passions. We grew up together. We really have the same passions, which is a bit crazy to be honest. It's true, but I don't really realize it often.
No, that's a really special thing to have because I feel like in a lot of families, it's like, okay, this child is the one that's into math, this one is the one that's into art and whatever. And so when you have three
Yes.
kids who are all into the same
Oh
thing, I feel
yeah.
like that's
That
super
really
special.
scared my parents. Like, to be honest, like when they started seeing us when we were 18 in London, even though we were studying really good things and nice universities, they were like, they're not really interested in that anymore. Like they graduated, okay,
Yeah.
but wow, what are they gonna do to us? You know?
No, totally. I mean, I feel like that's a really valid fear as a parent. I think that you want your child to go down paths that have proven to be successful in the
And
past, either
safe.
for, yeah, like safe for, your people, the people around you, or for yourself. And so, it's the struggle between like wanting the best for your kids, but also being like, hey, what is the music industry? I don't know anything about it. How are you going to get into that?
Yes, and yeah, I think it's the fear of the unknown, really. Like
Yeah.
even us going to the UK was like, well, what are they doing? Like we're
Yeah, I'm sure.
letting our children go in another country. Like what are we gonna do? We're not gonna have
Yeah.
control over anything. But then with time, results as well, they started to be like, okay, now we need to support them. So we have no choice.
That's the thing about parents. You have to show them results and then they'll get on
Exactly.
board.
Yes.
You can't just
Exactly.
be like, I have a dream. They're like, okay, dreams don't pay the bills. So what are you going
Yes.
to do?
100%.
I'm curious also about like the kinds of influences that you had growing up and like the music that was playing in your family's house.
So it was always really French touch, like Phoenix, Daft Punk, all of that. Like the very, I mean, for France, at least it's really classic music, like
Mm-hmm.
classicals, you know. Um, so I don't know. It's really that kind of music. And then I was always a big fan of Disney Channel. So I was like, okay,
Nice.
I have a mix of like show business dreams, like Hollywood dreams in my
Yeah.
head, with a mix of like French touch at home. So it was really like very, very different influences. And when I grew up a little bit, when I moved to London, actually, I became a huge fan of like S.G. Lewis, O Wonder. I don't know if you know O
Mm.
Wonder, but it's
Yeah.
like a
Hmm.
band that I love. I loved their
Yeah.
mindset, who they were, where they were living, their ways of writing. And so I started music based on them, like on their type of writing, and
Mm.
really inspired me.
Wow. Well, speaking of Disney Channel, I feel like you were, a little bit of a Hannah Montana,
Oh, yes.
doing,
That's the best
music
compliment you can give me.
and school at the same time. Because
Yeah.
did your first EP come out while you were still in school?
Yes. So my
Wow.
first EP came out when I was studying for my master's. So at that time I was in Paris. And it
Mm.
was, I remember the first song, the first single of the EP, so before the EP release, was released on the day of lockdown in France for COVID.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, damn, am I lucky? In a way, yes, because everyone is
Yeah.
going to be chilling and listening to music. But at the same time, I was like, wow, it really prevented me from doing live shows for a long time.
Yeah.
And I still don't have a lot of experience for that. So still learning.
Yeah. Wow. I feel like the COVID era was, I mean, obviously very sad and scary and stressful, but in a lot of ways, for those of us who were safe at home, a good way to be able to delve into our, creative passions and
Completely.
things. And it's an interesting time, I think, musically too, because you have the time to create and you have people who have time on their hands to listen to what you're creating. But then at the same time, so many aspects of the industry were dead, like you're saying, like live music and, putting out this project that
Mm.
you might see the numbers that it's doing online, but you can't actually go meet the people who are listening
Yes.
to it. um yeah, there's a lot that,
Frustration.
yeah, a lot of frustration and a lot that like boomed during that time but then also stalled at the same time.
Yes. But at the same time, like it was frustrating. But at the same time, I was like, okay, this is a scary exercise for a new upcoming artist, whatever, to go on
Hmm.
stage. So I was like, okay, now I have an excuse. Like I can't do it. But
Yeah, that's true.
I was like, I'm safe. I'm safe. They're not gonna ask too much.
How do you feel about going on stage now when you get to perform?
I'm excited. Like I love doing it. I need to rehearse a lot
Yeah.
for 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 me to be confident. If I
Yeah.
don't feel confident, then I'm a different person because
Yeah.
I'm usually quite, like, I don't know, extroverted. Like, I'm easy to talk to, but when I get on stage and I don't feel confident, it's like I cancel myself. Like, I
Yeah.
sing obviously, but I'm not really talkative. I don't really communicate with people because I just close 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 in. I
Yeah.
don't know how you
Like
say that,
yeah, like close
but
off. Mhm.
close off. You understand? But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm really working on that. It's getting better and better, but it's still a hard exercise for me.
No, totally.
Mm.
Well, one of the songs that I want to talk about from your last project, Arrogance Bikini, which I love.
Thank you.
A few things to note about that. One, I remember when we met up for coffee in Paris and I was telling you, I think that I had been listening to that song or like something like that. And I always kind of take note of the way that artists react when given compliments because I think every artist is like very different, where some people become more
Yes.
shy or some people are like, yeah, that is a great song. And I noticed with you, this has never really happened to me before, where I was like telling you, like, like, oh, I love this song. And immediately you start going, do do do, do do do, like singing along to it. And I
Did
was
I do
like,
that?
yes, she knows that this song is good. So I was wondering kind of what your relationship is to feedback, and, how it makes you feel, because it can feel uncomfortable but it can also feel validating, and of course you put
Mhm.
out songs that you think are good, and so when other people think that they're good as well, it's exciting. But I just want to know kind of how that feels for you.
I just know, like, I knew when putting myself into the music industry that I was not gonna be able to um, like federate everyone at the same time. Like, I know the whole world cannot love my music. Like, I know it's gonna be. I
Totally.
need to create my audience. I need to make the most of it and make the music that resonates the most with me and the people that are listening to me. But yeah, I'm really receptive to feedback. Like, I don't. I try. Like, it's hard for everyone, I think, but I try to not take it personally because there's the artist and there is me.
Yeah. Hmm.
Of course, it's the same person, but I'm not gonna take it personally if someone is like, "That's not really my thing." I'm like, okay, fine. Like,
Yeah.
I, I don't like that thing, but that doesn't mean I don't like the person. And
Totally.
and yes, so I'm really receptive to feedback, and I'm always in a process of, like, growing. So I'm happy to hear what people have to say, and if they have like a good input, I'm like, okay, I'll take it.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not something I'm
um
scared of, really.
wow, that's good,
Criticize.
because
Criticize me if you want. Go.
I'm terrified of it, but it's human. And yeah. The second thing I want to say about that song in particular is, you had Lucas Bravo in the music video, who
Oh,
plays
yes.
Gabrielle in Emily in Paris. And you also ended up having two songs, right, in Emily in Paris.
Yes.
So I'm curious about how all of that came about.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, and what it felt like too to have two songs in such a popular series.
So, first of all, the Lucas Bravo thing, and then after there was Kevin Diaz, which is another actor in the Emily in Paris series.
Oh, no way.
He comes later, but I don't know. It's all coincidences, like crazy coincidences.
Wow.
I even did a TikTok about it, and I was like, "The hell is going on?" So basically, it was during COVID, and we were looking for an actor. And Lucas is from Paris, like me. I mean, I'm not from Paris, but I'm living in Paris. And we were looking at every corner of like social media to find someone that could be available in south of France during
Yeah.
COVID to make the video, basically. And the director of the video found Lucas, who was one of his good friends from school, like acting
Oh,
school or
wow.
something. And Lucas was like, okay, yeah, I'm down, let's do it. And on the set of the music video, he told me, yeah, I just shot a new series for Netflix with Lily Collins. I don't know what's gonna happen with it. I hope it's gonna be like it's gonna work. I was like, okay, well, that's interesting. Like, it sounds really nice. And then the series came out, and it had the effect that it had, like big buzz,
Yeah.
everything. And from being a little like a smaller actor, he became huge just
Mm,
instantly. So it's crazy to see such a boom, in a
yeah.
career. So that was fun. And so I had a lot of people listening to the song after that were digging what Lucas was doing before. And for the songs in the series, that was a year after. Um, it's like an agency that I work with in Paris that pitches my songs to movies, anything, commercials, whatever. And I don't know, like as I represent the Parisian French girl, kind of, I think they like the project, and it's completely apart from Lucas. And
Okay. I was wondering if there was a connection.
Lucas actually saw, he watched the series in like before everyone, before it was released, and he texted me like, "Hey Emma, I think there are like two songs of yours in the series this season." And I was like, "What? I don't even know it."
Yeah, you're not even aware.
And so I heard about it a little bit later, and I was like, "Wow, that's crazy." So yeah, I was really
Wow.
happy.
That's wild.
Mm.
Um, that's interesting because I assume that there was some sort of connection, but it's funny that it came kind of randomly.
Completely randomly, yes.
Wow.
Mm.
I love that. Um, a lot of your music is very much, I mean, it has a very like Emily in Paris vibe in the best way of just
Mm.
very like Parisian romanticism and nostalgia. And I know you're inspired a lot by the feelings of nostalgia and both the negative and the positive, and as well as like traveling and stuff as well.
Oh yes.
Um, I would like to hear, honestly, first about your trip to Bali last year and how what that did for you
Uh,
personally and also just like creatively and the importance of travel for your like mental well being and creativity.
Wow, that's a really, really good question. Kind of the question I always wanted to have, really. So, I don't know, like, travel has always been like one of my passions. Like, I know it's something I want to include in my life, like, a lot. And it's my first source of inspiration. Like, for
Mm,
like, each of my songs, there's a story with travel behind it, kind of. And yeah, so I went to Bali last year, like in May, I think, for a month by myself. It was my first solo trip ever. And I don't know, and at that time I really needed a break. I needed to figure
yeah.
out a little bit more who I was. It was just after a breakup, so it was a bit like, okay, I need to put everything back in order.
Yeah.
And I left, and I don't know how to say that, but it really changed my life. And I think it was the impact of going by myself, like without expecting anything, being surprised by everything. It was inspirational. The people, the fact that I was away from all my problems, so far away, and I couldn't deal
Yeah.
with them because I was so far away from it. So I was just, I don't know, um, just with myself, introspective, and thinking about how I should be feeling better with myself before going back in all of this.
Yeah.
And so I did all of this work, and I came back. I was a bit depressed for 2 weeks because I was like, my life was so much better there.
I know.
I was like, damn, I need to go back. But then I know I can't be happy there if I'm not happy where I come
Yeah.
from. So I started to figure out everything, and I came back writing songs that resonate deeply with me, that are gonna come out in this year, but in the future. So I have an EP coming out in a month at the time I'm talking to you, but I have another project for the year
My
where
God.
yes, where I'm gonna go traveling for the next 6 months, and I'm
No
gonna make music
way.
with artists in local countries. It's gonna be amazing. And that idea came out from that Bali trip. So
Wow.
yeah,
Do you
I'm
have an
so excited.
idea of where you want to go just yet?
Yes. So initially the idea was to was to go back to the places, like the cities I lived in,
Mm-hmm.
which meant London, Madrid, and Mexico City. And I was like, okay, why do I just restrain myself to that and not expand the project to other cities in
Totally.
Europe or anywhere else that's inspiring to me? So I think I'm gonna do Europe. I want to do Montreal. I want to do Mexico City for sure, and Berlin. Like, I mean, big cities in Europe,
Wow.
and wherever it goes, like, I'm gonna think about it. I've done Madrid already. I have songs for there,
Yeah.
but I need to release the EP first, the first one, before I start communicating about this one. So one step at a time. So
Wow. That's a really cool project. And it's so cool how traveling can inspire you to have all of these
oh
ideas. And also,
yes,
like, what you're describing too is like so much of the ethos of this podcast of just, you know, collaborating with different people from all over the world and knowing that like talent doesn't just exist in the places that you currently live or
exactly.
have already lived.
And
Um,
sorry, go on.
no, you continue.
It's just that I that pops something up what you're saying. Um, it's I always loved, like, in traveling, it's meeting people, it's like encounters. Like, for me, it's always been really fascinating to meet someone from another country. Even me talking to you, like, we're talking about French music, you're there in the US, I'm here in Paris. Like, it's crazy how music can gather people.
Yeah.
And apart from music, it's just meeting someone from another world, like another perspective on life, another other passions. Like, we have so much to share.
Yeah.
And I think, like, as I told you, I lost myself a little bit last year. I didn't know what I wanted,
Yeah.
who I was, blah blah blah. So I took back everything from scratch, and I was like, where is my music, my passion for music coming from? So it's coming from me, writing, storytelling, and it's coming from traveling. So why do I not just do both in one project, And that's where it came from.
That is such a beautiful idea. I'm very, very excited about that. And I'm really happy
Yes,
that you
thank
got to go
you.
on. I'm happy you got to go on that solo trip as well. Because I also just feel like everybody needs to solo travel. It is just like the most life-changing thing. And I had never really done it too much. Like I had, traveled places like for the weekend or just, whatever. But um, when I saw you in Paris, I was on a solo trip and, I was meeting up with people in different cities who I had, maybe met on Instagram or messaged or whatever, but I was there alone in Paris and in Brussels. And I literally cried on the plane ride back
Yes, you
because
see how it's
it's so
crazy.
emotional. And one, it's just like you prove to yourself. I was so nervous when I first booked the trip. And honestly, as I got closer to it, I got a lot more at ease and more excited than nervous. Um, but it's like, you prove to yourself that you can figure things out in another country. And you are able
Exactly.
to, yeah, meet new people. Like I remember just having the best conversation with my cab driver in Brussels, who like is also African. And then I stumbled upon some art gallery in Brussels as well, where I ended up talking to this artist and like, both of us trying to communicate to each other in my broken French and his broken English. And it's just like experiences that you wouldn't have otherwise if you don't push yourself in that way.
Exactly. To me, it amplifies everything. Like, you're
Yeah.
noticing much more what's happening around you because you're not stuck in your conversations with someone you know really well, that can
Yeah.
that can remind you of, like, the problem you have there in the US or whatever. You're so
Mm-hmm.
alone, and that you need interaction. Obviously, we're human. You need
Yeah.
interaction, but so you create new ones and interactions you would have never had if you were with someone. And you learn a lot from that, from your behavior with other people, from these people with you. And it just makes it more, to me, it makes travel much more interesting.
On the note of travel, I would also like to hear about your trip to Madrid and writing songs there and um, going back a little bit to what you were saying at the beginning of starting to write songs in different languages.
So I've always been passionate about travel. So to me, learning languages is really important to be able to communicate with the whole world,
Mm.
and And so I always hid that part of myself in my French project. In the past, I was like, I need to be the French girl. I need to be the French girl, and I was hiding the English part and the Spanish part that I love about myself as well, because some of my best friends are Spanish, some of my best friends are English, British. So it's like, why am I hiding it? Because someone in the music industry in Paris told me to. To me, it was ridiculous. So I was like, okay, I want to do Spanish music, but for that, I want to go to an actual Spanish speaking country. And with that travel EP that I'm gonna work on this year, I thought it was the best occasion really. And so I went to Madrid in November, and one of my best friends lived there, and he works at Sony Music. So he organized a full week of sessions with me, and yeah, that was amazing. There was a few artists that I wanted to meet, and he added some others, and the result was amazing. Like, I'm so proud of the songs. Like, I thought I was gonna come back with one song, and I came back with four, and I'm like, okay, I needed one. Now, how do I do that?
I know.
So really, really, really inspiring. Like, I can't wait to do other countries, because if it's like this every single time, I'm gonna have the best time of my life for a year.
Yeah. No, that's so true. I'm glad that was such a good experience and that you got more songs
Yeah.
than what you anticipated. On that note, so you're coming out with an EP in a month. How do you choose what songs are going to go on the project? And like in the creation of this EP, was it a situation where you're like, oh, I have 7 songs or however many songs and that's what's going on there? Or is it like, months or years of writing a bunch and then dwindling it down to the few stories that you want to tell?
So I do a lot of sessions, like with different producers. Like, we co-write everything, and I don't know. I had like a library of different demos that I had, and I basically, to choose the songs. Like, some of the songs I wrote them 2 years ago, and I
Oh,
was like, okay, I didn't know how to release them in the past, and I had this opportunity with the EP, and the question I asked myself was, okay, Emma, how did you feel the day you wrote the song? What was the feeling on the first day you wrote the song? Because we always get really excited on the first day, because we're like, oh, I found a genius
yeah,
idea,
yeah,
and then you forget about it. You leave it lingering
yeah.
on the side, and you forget that it was actually a good song. It's an
Yeah.
artist thing, I think. And so I came back to the first question, the first thing, which was how I felt when I wrote the song. And I was like, okay, this, I love doing it, this, I really love doing it, so I'm gonna put it in the EP. And so it's quite a long EP. So there's gonna be singles that I already released this year, plus 2 new songs, plus one interlude. So it's gonna be like 7 songs. So that's it. I can't wait.
Um, I can't wait as well. I have listened to the EP through several times and I really, really love it. And I'd like to talk about some of the songs on it.
Yes.
Um, First, the interlude, Lettre à moi-même, which, Letter to Myself. It's very much in the style of the recent like storytelling videos that you've been doing on Instagram, which I've really been
Yeah.
loving, which are just like very cinematic and very self-reflective. So I kind of have 2 questions here. Like, one, how did you decide to start doing those kinds of videos on Instagram? And with this specific interlude, why did you feel that it was important to put that in the EP and put that at the beginning?
Okay. Basically, these videos on Instagram, like, as an artist, it's really important to be able to showcase yourself on socials for people to be able to relate to you. And in my process of losing myself and finding myself this year, I was a bit like, okay, I am not myself on socials. I'm really distant. I'm always like trying to pose and show the best side of myself, when in reality I'm not really like that. So why can I not show my how do I say, nuances, is that a word? My contrasts.
Mhm.
On socials as well, to embark people and show me that show them that I'm human as well. And I always loved storytelling, writing, and I was like, okay, go back to the source of why you're doing this and just talk about things that cross your mind. And the people in the music industry were also always telling me, Emma, your music is great, but we don't know who you are. Like we don't manage to understand who you really are. And I was like, okay,
Yeah.
you know what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna share thoughts that I have in my head with people so they know who I am. And that's how the concept of the video started. So I decided to do for the interlude something similar to these little videos, so that people that follow me understand my, like, recognize my world. And also for me it was a way to put into words, like simple words, like talking to someone straight away and saying what my EP is about, what state of mind I am in at the moment I'm releasing this EP. So it's there and it's never gonna change, and we're never gonna forget it, because you can interpret music in so many different ways. And for me, this EP, which is called L'autre moi, which means the other me, it's like this transitional phase I am in, and I have been in the past year. It's like I want to become someone. I am not there yet. So this is the middle step to becoming that person. I'm not who I was, but I'm not who I am going to be. But I'm in the middle, and that's an EP in the middle.
That kind of reminds me of one of the Instagram videos you made of like the draft years that you were talking about.
Yeah, because I'm terrified of turning 30, to be honest.
Me too.
That terrifies me for some reason, because in my head, it's always been a deadline. It's like at 30, you have to have everything figured out. You have to start having children, get married, have the man or the woman of your life in your life. You need to figure out everything. And we put so much pressure on ourselves when we're in our 20s, when to me, it's draft years. It's like you need to test, try things, and manage to find who you really are in order to be happy on the long term in the future, and be able to have a family after that. But for me, I'm not there yet, and I'm 27, and I'm still terrified of my 30s, but I'm trying not to be.
Me too. Okay, and the song after that, Ne t'en fais pas, we kind of discussed the general ethos of what you're expressing in that song, in terms of, earlier you were talking about how it took your parents some time to figure out how to be supportive of this dream that you had. And when you put this out, you said that you sort of wrote this as, a conversation to your mother.
Yes.
So, can you tell me a little bit about this song?
So Ne t'en fais pas means in English, don't you worry. And it's a song to express the vulnerability that I have, of basically, yes, I'm scared. This project is scary. Yes, it's not safe, and it's not everything that you know, but I'm gonna make it. Don't worry. Like, I know what I'm doing, and I trust myself, and it's like I'll be okay, message basically to my mom. Yeah,
I love that.
Sucré
salé.
Yes, sucré salé is a very different topic. So it means sweet and sour, in English.
Yeah, maybe like sweet and salty, or
sweet and salty, yeah. But not sour. Salty, yes. It's basically a whole image of a cocktail, but I'm talking about the taste of someone. So the whole song is about kissing someone and the feelings and the taste that you get, and it's a whole image basically.
I love that song so much, and I was listening to I was listening to all these songs this morning, but it was just kind of funny listening to it this morning when I'm in the dead of winter and it's like minus 15 Celsius here, and I'm like,
a bit of summer in your day,
and there's like literally snow and ice all over and freezing, and I'm just like pretending that I'm on the beach.
Oh yes. I mean, that's what I want to bring, summer to your life, Martha.
No, exactly. I literally feel that way every time I listen to your songs, and I like that it can. You do a good job of being able to transport people into a different time.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much.
Okay, after that, we have Saint-Germain, which is named after the neighborhood you moved to when you first moved to
Yes.
Paris. I'm curious about how this neighborhood changed you and impacted you slash inspired you, and then also just the song.
So Saint-Germain is like very famous in Paris, a very famous neighborhood. It's like um, really authentic. It's where the writers live, very
Mm,
artistic, cinematic, old school Paris, like romantic Paris as we know it. And
okay.
I got the chance to move there randomly. Like I found a flat there when I got to Paris. I didn't know I was living in that neighborhood at the time. I was like, oh, that's really nice here.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I lived there for three or 4 years, and it was my first steps in Paris, really, because I'm from Lille, north of France originally, after London. And I don't know, it's when I started my music project in French. And so
Mm,
I had so many stories there, love stories, friend stories, parties. Like I had a big moment of my youth there. So I have a lot of memories. And I moved to another neighborhood in Paris later before I had a breakup. And that was a day where things were not going really well. And that made me really sad. I was like, okay, I can't seem to make it work, even though I want to give my best. And so I needed a time off. So I left the flat and I went walking back in Saint Germain, where I felt familiar. And I went back to the libraries, the coffee shops that I used to go to, and it soothed me so much. And so basically, in that song, I'm talking about my doubts and how I feel sad while walking. It's a stroll in Saint Germain and what's going through my head,
I love that, and
basically.
I love the video for that as well.
Thank you.
Miel, which is also one of my favorites, honey.
Okay.
Can you tell me about that?
When I wrote this song, I was in a moment where I was always writing sad songs, and I was like, okay, Emma, you're not a sad person.
Yeah.
You are with yourself sometimes really nostalgic in my head, but in community in society, I'm really happy usually for some reason. It's very like two different sides of myself. And when I wrote that song Miel, I was like, okay, I want something that can make people dance a little bit, feel good about themselves, and escape a little bit from the rain in Paris at the moment. And as I'm gonna
Yeah.
release this song in February, I'm like, I hope it's gonna bring a little bit of ah. It's nice to hear her as well on something a bit more happy, you know.
Yeah, totally. It's such a good one, and I've been loving all the teasers that you've been putting out for it on social
Thank
media.
you so much. I'm gonna do
Okay.
more.
Yes, I can't wait. Okay, J'aimerais tant que tu sois là. Second to last track on the EP. I'd like to hear about this, and especially, when you put it out, you were putting out, these Instagram videos that we're talking about, the kind of storytelling diary-esque videos, and you said the absent ones are always the most present.
Yes.
So I'd like to expand a little bit on that and how that's present within this song.
Basically, J'aimerais tant que tu sois là means, oh, how I wish you were here, basically. And that song is about a moment where I was really introspective. I was sad. I was walking around Paris, and everything had, like, nothing had taste anymore because I was going through a breakup. Like, everyone had, I guess, that feeling, that experienced that feeling. And I don't know. I wanted to put into like an image the waiting, the hope, and the nostalgia that it comes when you have to make someone let someone go, basically.
Yeah.
And it's like I'm describing the streets that they always look the same, but I didn't look at them the same way when I was with that person. Now everything feels so empty and sad and blah blah blah, and it's just a really cinematic song. I try
Yeah.
to put images in people's head really when I wrote it. So that's it.
It is extremely cinematic. I feel like I would describe it in a similar way. And I think I texted you this when it came out. I was like, this is probably one of my favorite songs you ever put out.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I remember. Thank you so much.
Last but not least, L'autre moi.
Yes. L'autre moi is the title of the EP. I first wrote that song as a love song, like when you meet someone and it's like, whoa, the connection is instant, you know? And that was when I wrote the first verse, it was about someone. And then I thought about it and I was like, you know what? I don't really want to write about this person anymore because I wrote about this person too much already. And it's like, how do I recenter it to something that is more personal and just me, not anyone else? And it's like chasing the other me, the person I want to become. It's like this really heart-paced transitional phase that you have when you know you're not who you were anymore, but you're in the process to become who you're going to be. And it's a very uncomfortable place to be in because you have to change so much about your life, your routines, find a new job, or change of like where you live. It's really uncomfortable things, transitional things that are hard to do and include in your routine. But once you've done, you become someone else. And I talk about my dream. I talk about my dream to make it in music and become that person, you know?
I love that.
Yes.
What a gorgeous EP. I'm excited for everyone to listen to it.
Thank you.
I would like to ask you as well, you know, this is a podcast about spotlighting women in music from around the world. And so I'd like to hear about who are some musicians that you've been listening to lately or who are inspiring you, whether they're in France or elsewhere.
For me, the most inspiring person, and it's been like that for a year, is Olivia Dean. Like, I'm such a fan.
She's so good.
Of this girl, like all the songs she puts out, I love them. Live, she's amazing. I had the chance to see her live twice in Paris. And I'm like, wow, if I could do this, that would transcript what I have inside of me, you know, so much.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think she's amazing. That's my artist of the year, really.
Yeah, she's so talented. Well, that's all I really have for you today, Emma.
That's great. I mean, that was really interesting conversations.
Good. I'm really glad that we got to do this. And her EP, L'autre moi, comes out February
7th. Actually, it's in 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Oh my God.
So I thought it was a month, but it's actually 2 weeks when I think about it. And I'm like, whoa, I need to start promoting it.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Okay, that's really exciting. And so where can everybody find you on the internet? So
my Instagram is Emma Hoet Music, Hoet, Hoet. And on TikTok, Emma Hoet. Spotify, Emma Hoet. My name hasn't changed on any platform, so you can easily find me.
Yay! And this was the Now You Hear Me podcast. You can find me on Instagram at Now You Hear Me Pod and probably other socials that I have yet to create. Thank you so much, Emma.
Thank you, Martha, for having me. It was such a great conversation, and all the best of luck for your podcast.
Thank you.